football game that I thought we were prepared to play, football game that I thought we started fast, a football game that I thought we left a lot of points on the board in that first half, knew that could come back to hurt us. And reality is this hurts because I feel we beat ourselves. We beat ourselves, and, we got to get back to work. We're learn from it. But the opportunities were there. Too many penalties, not finishing drives, 2 minute, that middle 8, last 4 minutes before half, first 4 minutes after half really, was tough to overcome. Our kids battled back, which they always will. That fourth quarter, the effort that they always show, and I'm proud of our kids. So with that, some questions.
You go down late in the second, late in the first half, you go down, you're in position, you get the turnover, and it kind of seemed to deflate because it carried over into the third quarter.
It did. It did. I thought we had 2 opportunities there in the second quarter. We got some stops. I thought defense was flying around, making stops for us, got the ball, had good field position, didn't finish those drives. And, all of a sudden now it's 17 instead of maybe being 20 or 24, knowing you have the ball to start the second half too. So, you leave points out there and it's going to be a dogfight. We know every Missouri Valley Football Conference game is going to be a hard fought. They're not just going to go away. They're going to come back. They made the adjustments. I thought they controlled the whole third quarter, and then I thought our kids bounced back, from a terrible third quarter. I mean, that was, one of the ugliest third quarters. And I thought our kids came back in the fourth quarter and got ourselves a chance, to fight our way back in the game.
Speaking of the transition from the third to the fourth, it seems like after the third quarter, during that media timeout, you kind of called the whole team together in a full huddle. I mean, how was that kind of a reset moment?
I know our kids are emotional. I know there's calls that, I can't wait to watch, but I said, and it's us against everybody. Guys, we're not going to get any calls. You're not. So I'm not even going to complain about it. Let's focus on what we can do. And I was happy to see how our kids respond. We always say when things get really hard, you learn a lot about your kids. We learned a lot at Michigan State or at Towson. You learn, but it still hurts when you don't walk away, when you've prepared hard and you don't go out and execute the way that we needed to execute. You got to execute against these guys. You can't have those penalties on a kickoff return. You can't have those mistakes. We set attack on offense. We needed to score points when we had opportunity to score points, when we had a 17-7 lead, and we didn't. And then what happens is they turn the tide, and now it's just it's a fight till you run out of time.
What do you feel like was ultimately different for you guys on both sides of the ball in that third quarter as opposed to
I just think, they give them some credit. They made some adjustments at halftime. How they're going to attack, whether it was their perimeter run game, pin and pull, outside zone. They do a great job. They do a great job sometimes getting those arms outside of you and holding that edge down. They do. They get to the edge of the defense. And, again, I told our kids, focus on the things we can control. Okay? If you think you're getting held, don't get held. Learn to block defeat, get off it, go make a play. And I loved how our kids responded in the fourth. I really did, because that third quarter, like I said, you could feel it, and we just needed to change that. And it starts with our guys making some plays, which they did, and we feel we can score quickly. So we tried to fight our way back in the game. Needed, one more stop, and we'll look at the tape, and, if we can – we'll also get first downs. We had the ball down 4, need first downs, and we didn't get it.
Was it, on that drive with about 5-6 minutes to go, that fourth and 4, 4th and 5, you have to respond with the kind of decision having to go for it?
Yeah, real estate is so valuable. You got 2 timeouts. It's a 1-possession game. Now it's a 2-possession game. I think that's a lot different. But knowing you have 2 timeouts, 1-possession game, our defense just had 2 3-and-outs or, got off the field 2 times in a row. We said, let's punt the ball away. Let's get off the field. Let's give our offense with favorable field position, and sometimes that don't work for you, but, the decision at that point, I forget what fourth down was too. I don't know the distance at that time. So, but I do know third down, we probably weren't as successful as we have been, and those are things we got to get back to work with.
On that third down play, it was about 5 minutes left, and you guys had the ball for the last time. You elected to roll Bo out to kind of give him the field to work with. What was kind of the decision?
Those are things we work on. You got to change the pocket. They're a good football team. So you sit behind the pocket, you sit out of the pocket, you got play action pass, and sometimes getting them out of a pocket. And there's probably a lot of times those were first downs for us, especially on fourth down. If you notice, sometimes we sprint them out on fourth down when it's a fourth got to have it. And we complete those. And, this time, again, it doesn't work, So we're going to constantly change where he is in the pocket, and that's something we rep every day in practice against our defense, and feel confident when we call it. It's an opportunity for him to find 1, 2, 3, or he can run. And they did a great job defending it.
Both threw the ball about 44 times. It's the highest this year. About 15 more attempts in the run game today. Was that part of the plan to kind of balance it out, or third quarter kind of made you guys throw the ball?
I think third quarter probably made the stats at halftime. I didn't see where we were in our throwing game, but our goal is to find a way to score touchdowns and move the ball. If that's running, we're going to run the ball. If that's throwing, we're going to throw the ball. So, what was he, 29 of 44? So, offensively, again, I felt like we left a lot of points out there, and we had 73 for 431. Those stats mean nothing if you don't score touchdowns. That second quarter, that was probably the biggest. And you have that feeling too. When there's opportunities for you on 2 drives at the end of the second quarter, up 17-7, to extend that lead to maybe plus 14, getting the ball in the third quarter. And you don't, kind of knew it's going to be a dogfight there in the second half.
Excuse me. What were you telling the players? They were all kneeling in front of you, and you were trying to fire them up. What were you trying to tell them to fire them up?
Just, focus on the things we can control, not worried about officials. Let's focus on our fundamentals, okay? Our technique, and coming together and sticking together and responding in difficult times.